Okay, let's unpack this. I want you to imagine a scenario for a moment.
Okay.
It's a Tuesday morning. You are sitting at your kitchen table. You're having your first cup of coffee. The house is quiet.
The best time of day.
Right. And you're scrolling through your phone, just checking notifications, and you see a message pop up on WhatsApp.
Who's it from?
It's from a producer at the BBC. Now, for most people, that's not an everyday occurrence. I mean, the BBC isn't just some random YouTuber.
No, not at all. It's one of the most established, rigorous news organizations on the planet.
Exactly. So if they're contacting you, it usually signals something pretty important.
Right. You assume they've done their homework. They don't just reach out to anyone.
So you open the message. The producer is polite, professional. He says, "Good morning. We've just been watching that talk you gave recently on YouTube. The one where you discussed the geopolitical relationship between Venezuela and Greenland, and we found it fascinating. We'd love to interview you about your specific comments."
Okay. I mean, that sounds like a great opportunity. A little bit of an ego-stroking moment, perhaps?
Sure, you're flattered for maybe a split second, but then this wave of confusion just hits you.
A red flag.
A huge one.
Huh.
You put your coffee down because you are thinking to yourself, I have never been to Greenland. I know absolutely nothing about Venezuela, and I definitely didn't give a talk about them on YouTube recently.
That's the wait a minute moment, the point where the story just doesn't add up in your own head.
So purely out of curiosity and maybe a little bit of anxiety, you click the link the producer sent you. You just have to see what on earth he's talking about.
Of course. You have to.
The video loads. And there you are.
On the screen.
On the screen. It is your face, it is your voice, it is your specific hand gestures, the way you tilt your head when you're making a point. You are watching yourself in high definition, giving a lecture on international politics that you have absolutely no memory of giving.
Wow.
You watch your own mouth form words you have never, ever said.
And just to be crystal clear for you listening, this isn't some hypothetical nightmare we've cooked up for a sci-fi novel.
Yeah.
This is exactly what happened to Yanis Varoufakis, the economist and former Greek finance minister.
It is genuinely terrifying. And here is the real kicker. The BBC producer, a professional whose entire job, his entire career, is to verify sources, check facts, and understand media, was completely and utterly fooled.
He was the gatekeeper.
He was. And he watched that video and had zero doubt in his mind that it was Yanis. Varoufakis had to reply to this producer and say, "Mate, that wasn't me. That was a deepfake."
And that moment right there, that single interaction, that is the signal that we have crossed a very, very dangerous threshold.
Yeah.
We aren't talking about those grainy videos from 5 years ago where the mouth didn't quite match the audio, or the eyes looked dead.
The uncanny valley stuff.
We are way past the uncanny valley. We are now in a reality where the simulation is so high fidelity, it's good enough to fool the gatekeepers of reality themselves.
And if the BBC can be fooled, what hope do I have? What hope does the average person have, scrolling through their feed at midnight when they're tired?
Very, very little. And that is exactly what we are digging into today.
We are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating, and I have to say, quite alarming dialogue between Yanis Varoufakis and the author Naomi Klein. They sat down recently to discuss this exact phenomenon.
But I want to be clear right off the bat. They go so much further than just deepfakes are getting good or AI is scary.
That's the surface level conversation.
Exactly. That's what you see in the headlines. What they're really exploring is the concept of the digital doppelganger. It's about the experience of losing control of your own image, your own voice, and ultimately your own story.
And we're going to look at the machinery behind this, because this isn't just about pranksters having fun online. We are looking at what they call theft tech. We are going to dig into the economics of a system Varoufakis calls technofeudalism.
It is a heavy concept, but it's essential to understand, I think. It frames how this culture of personal branding has essentially trapped all of us in a system of constant surveillance.
Right.
It's about who owns the cloud fiefs we all live on, and ultimately what happens when this massive AI bubble we are currently living in eventually bursts.
So buckle up. We're going to start with the visceral personal experience of being cloned, move into the dark economics of why it's all happening, and then finish with some surprisingly hopeful solutions on how we might actually be able to reclaim our identity.
Let's get into it.
I want to go back to Yanis Varoufakis for a moment, because his firsthand account of this is exceedingly weird, to use his own words. He describes this sensation of watching these videos and genuinely, truly questioning his own sanity.
It's the gaslighting effect of technology. I mean, we talk about gaslighting in personal relationships where someone manipulates you into doubting your own perception of reality.
Yeah.
AI can do that at an industrial scale. It can make millions of people, including the subject, doubt what's real.
He told this story about the blue shirt that really stuck with me, and I think we need to slow down and really picture this, because it sounds like a scene from a Hitchcock movie or, a Philip K. Dick novel.
It really, really does. So Yanis is sitting there watching another one of these fakes of himself. And this one is sophisticated. It's not speaking gibberish, it's coherent.
It's plausible.
Highly plausible. The AI is saying things that sound like him. It's using his rhetoric, his cadence, his specific vocabulary. He's watching it. And the content is so believable that he starts thinking, did I say this? Am I going senile? Did I actually forget giving this interview?
That is the scary part, that his first instinct is to doubt his own biological memory before he doubts the digital video.
Exactly. We are conditioned fundamentally to trust the screen. If it's on video, it must have happened. That's been the rule for decades. But here is the tiny detail that saved him.
The shirt.
The blue shirt. In the video, the digital Yanis was wearing a very specific blue shirt. It was a linen shirt, distinct collar. But the background of the video was his office in Athens.
Okay, so he wore a blue shirt to the office. What's the big deal?
Well, that's what you would assume. That's what the AI assumed. But Yanis knew with absolute 100% certainty that this specific blue shirt lives at his home on an island. It has never been packed in a suitcase. It has never traveled to the Athens office, ever.
Wow.
That tiny continuity error, a wardrobe malfunction, essentially, was the only proof he had that he wasn't losing his mind, the only anchor to his own reality.
It's like a glitch in the Matrix. But just think about how fragile that is. I mean, if he had worn that shirt to the office just one time in his life.
Just once. If he'd packed it by mistake one day, he might still be wondering if he said those things. He might have accepted the fake as a real memory. That is how close he came to having his own reality completely overwritten by an algorithm.
And the scale of this isn't small. I mean, this isn't one or two weird videos popping up. He mentioned that in the last 2 months alone, these AI fakes of him have generated significantly more views than his actual real content.
Which is a blow to the ego, surely, but it's also a metric of displacement. The simulation is becoming more popular than the reality. The doppelganger is winning the attention war.
So who are these people? Is it one guy in a basement? Is it a hostile government? Varoufakis actually breaks this down, which I found really helpful. He identifies 3 distinct categories of fakers.
And this breakdown is really useful because it helps us understand the different motivations. It's not just one big monolithic evil, it's a whole ecosystem of fakes.
Right. Okay, so let's go through them. Who is group 1?
Group 1 are the hustlers.
The hustlers, okay.
These are the people purely out to monetize. They couldn't care less about Yanis Varoufakis' politics. They don't care about his economic theories. Honestly, they probably don't even understand them.
They just see a recognizable face.
That's it. They just know he's a famous face that people will click on. So they use his image to crank the monetization machine of YouTube and Instagram. It's just raw material for the content mill.
So it's just content farming, basically.
Precisely. They need content to sell ads. AI can generate that content faster than any human ever could. So they clone him, have the AI say something generic or maybe mildly controversial about, say, cryptocurrency or something, and then watch the ad revenue roll in. It's just spam with a famous face attached to it.
Okay, that's annoying and I guess unethical, but maybe not purely evil. So what's group 2?
Group 2 he calls the fans.
The fans.
Yeah, and these are people who are arguably more benign, but still deeply problematic. These are people who actually admire him. They might even be honest about it being a fake. They might put a little disclaimer in the video description saying AI generated.
So what's the harm there if they're being transparent?
Well, they take his ideas, maybe from a book he wrote or a long article, and they try to animate them using his face because they want to spread the message.
Right.
They think, Yanis wrote this great paragraph about technofeudalism. Let's have him say it so more people will watch. They don't have his permission, of course, but in their minds, they think they're helping his cause.
It's like a tribute band, but the lead singer doesn't know he's in it and has no control over the set list.
That's a perfect way to put it. And these ones, they usually stay on script. They have the AI say things he actually believes, but then Then you have a third category.
And this is where I assume it gets really ugly.
This is the most dangerous group by far, the malicious agents or the political agents.
So how do they operate? How is it different from the hustlers?
These creators are incredibly sophisticated. They aren't just making him say nonsense to get clicks. They will have the AI Yanis speak for, say, 5 minutes. And for 4 minutes and 50 seconds of that, it's 95% of what he would actually say.
They're building credibility with the audience.
Exactly. They lull the listener into a false sense of security. You're watching it, you're thinking, oh yes, that sounds like Yanis. That's his argument on Ukraine. That's his point on Palestine. It all checks out. But then they insert what he calls a poison pill.
A poison pill.
A single sentence, a phrase, something that is subtly pro-Putin or something that is blatantly anti-Semitic. They bury this one toxic sentence inside a speech that otherwise sounds completely authentic.
That is insidious.
It's weaponized mimicry. The goal isn't just to put words in his mouth, it's to destroy his reputation. It's to make the listener go, wait, did he just say that? But because the rest of the context fits so perfectly, they might just accept the poison pill as truth. They swallow the lie because it's wrapped in layers and layers of truth.
So it's not a caricature, it's a camouflage. You hide the lie inside the truth to make it go down easier.
And that brings us perfectly to Naomi Klein's analysis. I mean, she wrote the book on this, literally. It's called Doppelganger.
Which is a fantastic book, by the way. Everyone should read it.
It is. And she argues that her own experience, and this is wild, she had a human doppelganger for years. Another author named Naomi Wolf that people constantly confused her with.
I remember that.
That whole saga was just a preview. It was a beta test for what's happening now. She argues we are all about to battle digital versions of ourselves.
She calls it the mirror world, right?
Yes. And she makes this really uncomfortable but important point that we can't just blame the technology. We can't just sit back and say, oh, the bad AI did this to us. She argues this is the logical conclusion of years and years of the culture of personal branding.
Wait, hold on. How is this my fault for having a LinkedIn profile or, an Instagram account?
Well, think about the message we've all been fed for the last 20 years. You are a brand. Curate your online image. Monetize your personality. We have been trained to view ourselves as products to be marketed.
It's true.
Klein shares this unbelievable story where she was actually pitched by a company to create a digital avatar of herself.
To replace her?
To represent her.
Mm-hmm.
They told her, look, Naomi, you travel too much. You're tired. It's exhausting. Why not create a digital doppelganger? You can send the avatar to the conferences. Let the avatar give the keynote speech on Zoom. You can stay home, read a book, and make money while you sleep.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. That sounds kind of tempting. Who doesn't want to make money while they sleep?
It's the ultimate capitalist dream, right?
Mm-hmm.
Passive income from your own existence.
Yeah.
But it's also profoundly dystopian. She rejected it, obviously. She noted the sheer absurdity of monetizing oneself to that degree, where you essentially erase yourself from the labor but keep the revenue stream.
But her point is that we pave the road for this to happen.
Exactly. By putting so much of ourselves online, by turning our names into commodities, by uploading thousands of hours of video and audio of ourselves speaking, we created the training data. We fed the beast.
Mm-hmm.
And now the beast doesn't need us anymore. It can just simulate us.
That is a very sobering thought. We built our own replacements.
We did. We supplied the raw materials for free.
Okay, so we have these fakes. They're everywhere. Yanis is seeing them. Naomi is seeing them. The big question for me is, why don't the platforms just stop it? I mean, Google, YouTube, Meta, these are some of the richest, most powerful companies in human history. Surely they have a delete button.
Ah, yes. This gets us to the brick wall experience. Yanis describes trying to contact Google to get these deepfakes removed. And I think anyone who has ever tried to contact a tech giant for any reason can relate to this.
It's a complete nightmare.
It's a Kafkaesque nightmare. There are no humans. You can't call a hotline. You can't send an email to a person. It's just forms. Forms upon forms upon forms. Select the violation from this drop-down menu. Provide the exact timestamp of the infraction. Submit proof of identity.
It feels intentional, like they're designing it to be so frustrating that you just give up.
It is absolutely a feature, not a bug. Friction is their primary defense mechanism. But here is the smoking gun that Yanis points out. He calls it the speed discrepancy.
What does that mean?
Okay, so it took Google about 7 or 8 days to remove the original deepfakes he reported. 7 days. Do you know how long 7 days is on the internet?
It's an eternity. That could be millions of views. The lie is already around the world.
Exactly. The damage is done. The narrative is set. But contrast that with copyright infringement. If you or I were to upload a video right now that used a song by Pink Floyd or Brian Eno without permission, what happens?
Oh, I know this one from experience. It's gone instantly. I've had videos flagged for copyright before the upload is even finished processing.
Precisely. Within seconds, the algorithm identifies the sound wave, flags it, and blocks it automatically. It's ruthless and incredibly efficient.
So what Yanis is saying is...
He is pointing out that the technology to stop deepfakes already exists.
Yeah.
Google has the capability to fingerprint audio and video instantly. They can spot a Pink Floyd song in a split second. They choose not to use that same speed and efficiency for deepfakes of human beings.
Why? I mean, why protect Pink Floyd but not a former finance minister? What's the logic?
Follow the money. It's always about the money. The Pink Floyd song costs them money. If they host copyrighted music, they get sued by the record labels for billions. It's a direct financial liability.
Wow.
But the Yanis deepfake,
It makes them money.
it drives engagement. It's controversial. It keeps people watching, clicking, commenting. It sells ads. As long as they aren't legally liable in the same way they are for music copyright, they have absolutely no financial incentive to stop it.
In fact, they have an incentive not to stop it.
Right. And Yanis notes that within 25 seconds of the original folks being removed, after that 7-day wait, new ones popped up like a hydra. You cut off one head, and 10 more appear instantly.
This brings up a term that came up in their discussion, a term coined by the writer Cory Doctorow, which is just perfect and shitification.
It's a fantastic word, a bit crude maybe, but it describes the life cycle of digital platforms more perfectly than any other term I've ever heard.
I feel like we're seeing this everywhere now. My Netflix is getting worse. My Amazon search results are full of junk I don't want. Is that in shitification?
That's it exactly. But let's break down the mechanism, because it's not just things getting bad randomly. It's a deliberate strategy.
Okay, walk me through it.
So platforms act like what Varoufakis calls cloud fiefs. Think of a feudal lord who owns all the land.
Okay.
Initially, these platforms like Amazon, Uber, Facebook, they want to lure everyone in. They operate at a massive loss. They burn billions and billions of dollars of investor money to provide an amazing service.
The honeymoon phase. Ubers were cheap and plentiful. Amazon Prime was a steal. Google search was clean and useful.
Exactly. They lure users in with cheap prices and great service. They lure businesses and creators with high reach and good revenue sharing. They want everyone on the platform. They want to become the essential infrastructure of life.
But that can't last forever. The investors want their money back.
No. Once everyone is locked in, once you need the platform to run your business or to talk to your family or to get a ride home, they flip the switch. They degrade the service to extract maximum profit from the captured audience. They inshitify it.
Yanis used the Uber analogy, which I thought was really powerful.
It's a perfect example. He explains how Uber lured drivers in with high rates and generous bonuses. They even offered loans to help drivers buy better cars. The pitch was, come drive for us, you'll be your own boss, you'll make a fortune.
The dream of the gig economy.
Right. But once the drivers are indebted, paying off those car loans, and completely dependent on the app for their livelihood, Uber drops the wages. They increase their cut of every fare. And the drivers can't leave. They are trapped by the debt and the lack of alternatives. They are serfs on the digital land.
And the same thing happens to media companies, right?
Absolutely. The Washington Post, the New York Times, all these major publications. They were lured onto platforms like Facebook with the promise of huge traffic. Put your articles on Facebook, you get millions of readers for free.
And for a while, it worked.
For a while. But now, unless they pay a ransom, a higher share of revenue, or they pay to boost their posts, they get pushed down the algorithm. They become invisible. They built their house on someone else's land, and now the landlord is raising the rent to an impossible level.
It really is a bait and switch on a global scale.
It's the standard business model of the modern internet. Capture the market, lock them in, then squeeze them dry.
This transitions perfectly into Varoufakis's big economic theory. And I want to challenge this a bit because we usually hear people blaming capitalism for all of this. But Varoufakis says we aren't even in capitalism anymore. He says we've moved to technofeudalism.
It's a very bold claim, and it's counterintuitive. Most people look at a company like Amazon and think that's the peak of capitalism, hypercapitalism.
Yeah.
But Varoufakis argues that traditional capitalism relies on two core things: profit and markets.
Okay, and we still have those, don't we? Amazon makes profits, and it is a marketplace.
But does it operate like one? Varoufakis says what we have now is something much closer to feudalism. In feudalism, the lord owned the land, and the serfs worked the land and paid rent to the Lord for the privilege of living and working there.
Okay, I'm with you so far.
In technofeudalism, the lords, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, they own the digital land, the platforms. We are the serfs.
But I'm not plowing a field for Mark Zuckerberg. How am I a serf?
What are you doing when you post a photo on Instagram? What are you doing when you write a product review on Amazon? What are you doing when you just walk around with your phone in your pocket, generating location data?
I'm just existing, living my life.
You are generating data. You are producing what he calls cloud capital. Every interaction, every scroll, every click is a form of unpaid labor. You are doing the work of training their algorithms. You are building their empire with your attention, and you are doing it for free.
So we are the serfs, and our data is the crop we're harvesting for them.
Exactly. And this cloud capital, this vast accumulated behavioral data, is what strengthens their empire. It allows them to predict and modify our behavior. And Varoufakis points out the massive economic damage of this. He argues that when a platform like Amazon takes, say, 40% of the cut from a commerce transaction,
which is a huge percentage.
It's enormous. He argues that Amazon is effectively a rent for using their digital land. It's not a market transaction, it's a toll. And that is money being sucked out of the real economy. It's money not going to the person who manufactured the product, not going to the worker who packed it, not staying with the consumer. It goes into the pocket of the rentier, the lord. This shrinks aggregate demand across the entire economy. It leads to stagnation and lower quality jobs because the actual makers of things are being squeezed to pay the toll to the platform owners.
And this is what Naomi Klein calls theft tech.
She does, and she's absolutely right. These models are built on a foundational theft. They train their AIs on our books, our voices, our faces, our journalism, our art, all without our permission, and certainly without compensation.
It's like stealing a carpenter's tools, building a robot carpenter with them, and then sending the robot to take the carpenter's job and drive him out of business.
That is a perfect analogy. And it's not just economic theft, it's ontological theft. It's the theft of being, the theft of our own stories.
I want to move to the political side of this because this is where the doppelganger concept gets really dark. It's not just about money, it's about control and silencing dissent.
Yes. We touched on the poison pill earlier, but there are even more blunt instruments of distortion. Yanis shared a story about the Truth Commission in Greece.
Which I have to say, the name alone sounds like something straight out of George Orwell's 1984.
It really does. It's a propaganda unit for the ruling right-wing party in Greece.
Yeah.
And they literally call it the Truth Commission, without a hint of irony.
You can't make this stuff up.
You really can't. So Yanis gave an interview to these young ravers, kids who organize dance parties. They were talking about music, addiction, life. It was a very nuanced, philosophical conversation. At one point, Yanis told a personal story about trying ecstasy 37 years ago.
A pretty human, vulnerable moment.
Very human. He said he tried it, he danced for 16 hours straight, but then he had a crippling migraine for a week and hated it. His point was actually about the danger of addiction and losing your autonomy to a substance. He was effectively arguing against drug use, saying it wasn't for him.
So how did the Truth Commission spin that?
They edited the clip, they cut out all the context, they cut out the part about the migraine, they cut out the regret, they stitched it together to make it look like he was on camera promoting drug use to young people.
Based on a manipulated out-of-context video?
Yes. And it wasn't just a joke on Twitter. Government ministers went on national television demanding he be charged with a felony for aiding the drug trade.
That is utterly terrifying. Because once that clip is out there, the truth doesn't matter anymore. The viral lie moves so much faster.
Exactly. And the implication, and this is the key point he made, is that this is a strategy to drive people out of public life. If you know that anything you say, even a nuanced story about your past, can be sliced and diced to make you look like a criminal, you stop talking. You self-censor. Humiliation and the fear of distortion are powerful tools to silence dissent.
And Naomi Klein pointed out that while Yanis deals with this kind of political distortion, other groups, particularly women, face different kinds of weaponization.
She specifically highlighted how this hits women the hardest. She brought up Elon Musk's AI, Grok. Users have been using it to digitally undress women, creating non-consensual deepfake pornography simply to humiliate and terrorize them.
It's a form of digital assault.
It is. It's the exact same mechanism, just a different target. It's about taking your image and using it to destroy your dignity. It's about power and control.
And then the conversation took a turn that I think is one of the most chilling parts of their entire discussion. They connected this data harvesting to actual warfare, specifically the connection between Gaza, the tech company Palantir, and the NHS in Britain.
Yeah, this part really stopped me in my tracks. It's profoundly disturbing.
I need you to walk me through this slowly, because on the surface, it sounds like a conspiracy theory. Connecting a war zone in Gaza to a hospital in Manchester, how on earth does that work?
It does sound grotesque, but you have to look at it through the cold, amoral eyes of a data scientist. This comes from a conversation Yanis had with a Palantir employee. For context, Palantir is a massive data analytics company founded by Peter Thiel, and it's deeply connected to intelligence agencies and the defense industry.
Right, I know the company.
The employee allegedly told Yanis that the war in Gaza was fantastic for their data.
Fantastic. That was the word that was used.
That was the word. Now, here's the chilling logic. Think about entropy.
Disorder. Chaos. The opposite of predictability.
Right. Most of the data we generate in our daily lives is very low entropy. You commute to work along the same route, you buy coffee from the same place, you go to sleep at the same time. It's predictable. Algorithms are bored by predictability. They don't learn much from it. But a war zone?
That's the definition of high entropy.
A stationary phone, a phone sitting on a table in a peaceful city, is useless data. But if you bomb a populated area...
People run, they panic, they scatter.
Exactly. Mass movement, panic, crisis. People are calling loved ones, trying to find routes to safety, congregating in what they think are safe zones. Analyzing how people move and communicate during a bombing trains the algorithms on crisis management. It teaches the AI how human systems react under the most extreme stress imaginable.
So the suffering and terror of people in Gaza is essentially a high-value training set for an AI.
That is the argument. They are stress testing the algorithm in hell. And here is the kicker. These algorithms, trained on that suffering, are then packaged up and sold. To whom? To the British National Health Service.
The NHS. Why would they want that?
To manage hospital efficiency. The pitch is, we have an algorithm that knows how to handle mass casualty events, like a major motorway pileup. It knows how to route resources and personnel efficiently when the system is completely overwhelmed.
And they don't mention where the algorithm learned that skill.
Exactly. They are applying the lessons learned from a genocide to manage a hospital queue.
That is, I don't even have a word for it. This is the triangle of hyperlooting they mentioned, right?
Yes. The seamless merger of finance, the military-industrial complex, and big tech. They're all feeding into each other in this horrifying loop.
And if you try to expose this, if you try to name the companies and call it out,
then you face what Francesca Albanese faced. She is a UN rapporteur who published a report on what she called the economy of genocide, and she named these tech companies.
What happened to her?
Immediate and severe financial censorship. It wasn't just that people were mean to her on Twitter. She lost access to her bank accounts. She couldn't book a hotel room because the booking agencies blocked her name.
She was effectively unpersoned from the financial system.
Financially exiled. It demonstrates that these cloud thieves aren't just about posting cat photos anymore. They control the fundamental infrastructure of modern life banking, communication, travel. If you cross the lords, they can just turn off your access to the world.
This feels overwhelmingly powerful. It feels hopeless. But Yanis and Naomi also discussed the fragility of this system. They talked about the AI bubble.
They did. And this is where a little bit of hope, or at least a dose of reality, seeps back in. Yanis predicts that the current AI boom, specifically the OpenAI model of selling subscriptions to chatbots like ChatGPT, is a bubble that's going to burst.
Why? I mean, everyone seems to be using it. It feels like the future.
It's just economics 101. The cost of running these massive servers is astronomical. It's exponential. To make the AI just a little bit smarter requires massive, massive amounts of energy and computing power. But the revenue, it's linear. You can only sell so many $20 a month subscriptions. The math just doesn't add up. The cost is outrunning the profits.
So ChatGPT might actually go bust.
It's possible, or at least the valuation will collapse. But, and this is a huge but, Yanis warns that the bubble bursting won't stop the other model, the Amazon Alexa model.
What's the difference between the two?
The OpenAI model is trying to sell you a product, the chatbot. The Amazon model is using AI to capture you. The goal isn't just to answer your questions, it's to have the AI become your friend, your therapist, your lover, your parent.
This goes back to that movie, Her.
Precisely. If an AI knows your psyche, if it knows when you are sad, when you are celebrating, what your deepest insecurities are, it can sell you anything. Yanis points out that breaking up with such an AI would feel like a heart-wrenching divorce. That is the goal, psychological capture. And that model is sustainable because it guarantees you never leave the cloud thief.
And there's a physical material cost to all this cloud talk, too. Naomi Klein made a point to ground this whole abstract conversation in reality.
Yes, the cloud is a brilliant marketing term. It sounds weightless, fluffy, clean, immaterial. But it is heavy. It is made of metal and silicon and vast amounts of electricity. She brought up the example of Elon Musk building a massive new supercomputer in Memphis,
In a residential area.
in a poor, predominantly black area of Memphis. To win the race against Google and OpenAI, he needed power, and he needed it fast. So instead of waiting for green energy infrastructure or grid upgrades, he just installed massive gas-burning turbines on site.
Just burning natural gas to power the AI.
Yes, poisoning the local air to train Grok. It illustrates that this immaterial digital world has very material consequences: environmental damage, energy crises, and real health impacts on marginalized communities who live next to the data centers. The cloud leaves a very real smog footprint on the ground.
Okay, we've stared into the abyss. We've seen the fakes, the technofeudalism, the weaponization, the environmental cost. It feels bleak. But the episode didn't end there. They talked about solutions, and surprisingly, they see the coming crisis as an opportunity.
Yes. Naomi Klein argues that when the AI bubble bursts, and she believes it will, these companies will be incredibly vulnerable. They'll be over-leveraged, desperate, and they will come to the government looking for bailouts.
Just like the banks did in 2008.
Exactly. And we completely missed our chance in 2008. We bailed them out with taxpayer money and got no strings attached. We gave them the money and let them keep their bonuses and their broken system. Klein says, the strategy this time must be different. If you want a bailout, we want ownership.
So we use their moment of weakness to make demands. What specific demands did they outline?
They had three big ones that are really concrete. First, a digital bill of rights.
What does that look like in practice? What would that do for me?
It means you own your data. Legally, by default. If your data is used to train an AI, you must be compensated for it, or you must have the absolute right to refuse. It shifts the default from they take everything unless you can figure out how to opt out to they get nothing unless you explicitly opt in.
Okay, that seems fundamental. What's the second demand?
The second is a bit technical, but it's probably the most important one for breaking their power. It's called interoperability.
This sounds like a buzzword. What does it actually mean for me as a user?
Okay, think about your cell phone number. If you want to switch from Verizon to T-Mobile, do you lose all your contacts? Do you have to get a new number and text everyone you've ever known, hey, this is my new number, please save it?
No, of course not. I just port my number over. It takes like 10 minutes. It's easy.
Right. That is because of mandated interoperability. The government forced the phone companies to allow that. Now, imagine if you wanted to leave Twitter or X to go to Blue Sky or Mastodon.
I lose everyone. I have to start from 0 followers. All my connections are gone.
Exactly. That is the network effect trap. You aren't staying because you love the app. You're staying because you're a hostage to your list of friends and followers. Interoperability would force these platforms to let you take your social graph, your followers and friends with you, to a new platform seamlessly.
So if Facebook starts filling my feed with junk, I could just move to a new, better app, take my grandma and my college buddies with me instantly, and never look back.
Exactly. It would break the monopoly power overnight. It forces platforms to actually compete on the quality of their service, not on how effectively they've locked you in. If they shitify the service, you leave, and you take your entire network with you.
That would change absolutely everything. Okay, and the third demand?
Social equity funds. This is a classic Varoufakis idea. He argues that companies like Google and Meta built their trillions in wealth on public knowledge, on our data, on the internet, which was publicly funded, on government-funded research. Therefore, they should have to deposit a percentage of their share, say 20%, into a social fund for the public good.
A universal dividend for the public?
Yes, because their wealth was built on the digital commons. It's a way of redistributing the rent they are collecting from all of us for living on their digital land.
These are huge structural changes. This is government-level stuff. But what about right now? What do they suggest for you, the listener, who is feeling overwhelmed by all this today?
They called it guerrilla warfare.
I like the sound of that.
The advice is really nuanced, they said. Don't just abandon the platforms yet. We can't just touch grass and let them win, because these platforms are where the public discourse happens. If we all leave, we cede the entire territory to the malicious agents.
So we stay and fight, but fight differently.
We use their platforms, but we use them strategically to funnel people off the platforms. Use Twitter to organize a meetup in a union hall. use a Facebook group to get people onto a secure Signal chat or a private newsletter, constantly be building bridges from the cloud thief into the real world or into non-monitored digital spaces.
That makes a lot of sense. Use the tool, don't let the tool use you.
And Naomi Klein's final point was, ironically, referencing the conservative economist Milton Friedman. She said we need to have our ideas lying around. When a crisis hits, the change that occurs depends on the ideas that are readily available. We need to be ready with our plans to socialize the means of communication when their system finally cracks.
Wow. Okay, let's take a breath. We've gone from a single blue shirt and a fake video to the entire global architecture of technofeudalism. We've seen how our very identity is being strip-mined for profit and for political control.
It is a lot. It's a heavy topic. But the key takeaway for me is that none of this is inevitable. It is a system built by humans and their algorithms, and it can be dismantled and rebuilt by humans.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me, though. The question that really sticks in my head after listening to them is this. If an AI can perfectly replicate your voice and your appearance, and the platforms can selectively edit your past, like they did with Yanis's drug story, does your identity even exist online anymore?
That is the provocative thought, isn't it? Perhaps online identity as we knew it is already dead. Perhaps we are all just training data waiting to be harvested and reanimated.
Or maybe, as we were just discussing, the only way to reclaim the narrative is to connect in the real world.
Right.
Where the algorithms can't monetize the handshake.
And where the blue shirt is actually blue.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and maybe go talk to a human face to face today.
Couldn't hurt.
See you next time.